Hi guys, so I'm going to read Tales from the Crypt number 23.
So Tales from the Crypt, featuring the Crypt Keeper, the Old Witch, the Vault Keeper.
Locked! I'm locked in this mausoleum with this thing!
And the cover art is by Feldstein.
The Crypt of Terror. Welcome, dear fiends. Come in. Come into the Crypt of Terror. I am your host, the Crypt Keeper. I see it is time to tell you another of my spine-tingling horror stories from my vast collection here in the crypt. Let me see. I know. This one is sure to freeze the blood in your veins. Guaranteed to make little shivers run up and down your crawling spine. This little adventure into terror, this chilling ordeal, is about to happen to you. You are the main character. Ready? Get a good grip on yourself. Then turn the page and begin the tale I call Reflection of Death. Ahead of you, the white line that divides the road stretches into the darkness beyond your headlight beam. Beside you, Carl sits puffing on a cigarette.
Getting pretty cold, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, and the heater's on the fritz too. It's good we wore warm clothes.
You're at the wheel. You and Carl have been driving since daybreak. In 2 more hours, you'll be home. You're tired now. The strain of driving throughout the day and into the night is beginning to have its effect. Your eyelids are heavy. They keep closing.
You better take over, Carl. I'm getting tired. I'd hate to fall asleep at the wheel.
Okay, Al. Pull over and we'll switch.
You stop the car, and Carl gets out. You slide across the seat, and Carl slips behind the wheel.
Why don't you take a snooze, Al? I'll wake you up when we get to town.
Maybe I will, Carl.
You draw your coat up tight around you, pull your hat down, reach into your pocket for your gloves. You stare out through the windshield. The road comes out of the darkness at you and slides beneath the car, unending. Faster, faster. Carl begins to whistle an off-key tune.
So he's like, I can't whistle, but it's like doo 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 or something like that.
The motor purrs. The road comes on. On. Your head begins to nod. Carl's whistling continues. Flat, unmelodic. Suddenly he gasps. You look up. A pair of headlights, bright, blinding, hurtles at you from the darkness. Carl shouts. You try to scream, but it chokes up in your throat. A rattling cough.
Look out! Al! We're gonna hit!
There is a splintering, shrieking crash of metal and glass, and squealing brakes. You feel yourself flying forward. A blasting light, the pain, the cold, and then the velvet night closes in. All is quiet, except for a distant, far away whimpering. The blackness is empty, eternal. You float in it, turning, twisting, falling, then rising again. The pain is gone. Everything is gone. Only the darkness. On, dark, black, empty. You open your eyes. Tiny pinpoints of light blink bright and dim before you. A leaf flutters, then glides at you. You're on your back, gazing up at the night sky. You raise your head and look about. You are lying at the edge of a road. You remember now. The headlights, the crash. There must have been a collision, but the wreck, there's no sign of it. You get to your feet. Your clothes are torn and dirty. There is a smell, a sickening smell. You look up and down the road. No smashed glass, no twisted metal, nothing. Just a road, clean, white, reaching into the night. A car is coming. You stumble out onto the concrete. You raise your gloved hand as the car bears down upon you. Its wailing brakes bring it to a stop.
Crazy fool! Do you want to get yourself killed?
You step close to him. You begin to ask him if he'll drive you into town. That there's been a wreck. Suddenly, you see the wild look in his eyes. A look of stark terror. He stares at you and shrieks. Ah! The car meshes gears and roars away. You can hear him screaming. You cannot understand. Then you laugh to yourself. Of course. You must have been cut in the accident. Maybe the sight of blood scared him. You start down the road. Toward town. Toward home. Then you see it. The fire. Someone under the road bridge. Cooking. You move toward him. Perhaps he heard the crash. Saw the accident. It is a hobo. A tramp huddled near the fire. He stirs something in a can hung over the flames. He looks up as you approach.
Welcome, partner. If you're hungry, sit yourself down. The stew's just about done.
You move into the firelight. He looks into the can, stirs it a bit, then turns toward you. Suddenly, the blood drains from his unshaven face. He cringes.
Keep away. Ah!
The tramp claws his way up to the embankment and runs, shrieking, down the road. You watch him as he vanishes into the night.
No! Ah!
You continue on toward town. You got to get help. Then you stop. You look down. A piece of a newspaper is under your foot. You read the date. It can't be. February 26, 1951. Impossible. That's almost 2 months from now. Today is January 1st. You and Carl had been returning from a New Year's Eve party. You had been driving all day. New Year's Day. Now it's New Year's night. Or is it? Another car coming. You put the paper in your pocket and step out onto the road. She's frightened. What woman wouldn't be? A lonely road at night. You, a strange man, stepping out in front of her car, forcing her to stop or hit you. Of course she's frightened. What do you want? You are about to tell her not to be afraid, that you mean no harm. But there is no time. She looks at you. Her eyes roll. She gurgles a faint groan and faints. You get into her car. You drive it into the outskirts of town and leave it. The woman unconscious behind the wheel. You make your way home. Home! But when you reach it, the windows are boarded up. You cannot understand. There is a sign tacked to the house. You move closer to read it. No trespassing. By order of the sheriff. This property belongs to the People's Bank and Trust Company. Foreclosed January 15th, 1951. Foreclosed on January 15th, 1951. But today is, or is it, the newspaper you found? Remember, have you been unconscious for almost 2 months? You turn away from the house. A lone figure approaches on the deserted, dark street. You walk toward him. You want to ask him the date. He comes closer. Then he sees you. Good Lord! He begins to run from you. You run after him. You only want to ask him a question. Why does everyone stare at you wide-eyed? Faint, scream, run from you. Why? Carl's house. You're in front of Carl's house now. Carl, who was with you when the accident happened. You go up the steps, stand before the door, ring the bell. Heavy footsteps approach. The door opens. Carl stares out at you. You wait for him to scream, to run. Wait for that look of horror. But nothing happens.
Carl, let me come in. You've got to help me. I don't...
You rush into his apartment. It is dark. Carl objects. You tell him the story. You blurt it out. Everything. The crash. How you woke up. The people that screamed when they saw you. Except Carl. Carl did not scream. Carl, your friend.
You joke with me. Whoever you are.
He stares at you blankly. There is no recognition.
Don't you know me, Carl? Don't you recognize your old friend, Al?
You say. He shakes his head and turns away.
You're fooling. This is some sort of a gag. Surely you know that Al and I were in an accident almost 2 months ago. That Al was killed. Horribly mangled. And I lost my sight. That I am totally blind.
You dead. You gasp. You look around. A mirror. You get up. Stagger towards it. And look in. You scream. Ah! You open your rotted, torn, decomposed mouth and scream. Ah! Carl is at your side, shaking you.
Al? 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 Wake up, Al! You're having a nightmare. Huh? What?
You look around. You're in the car. Carl is driving. You've been dreaming the whole horrible experience.
Thank God. Thank God. For what, Al? My nightmare. I dreamed I was dead. Everything was so real. Thank God it was only a dream. Oh, yeah.
You watch the road as it unfolds beyond the headlight glow and rushes toward you and under the spinning wheels. You wonder if you should tell Carl about your dream.
We'll be home soon, Al.
You stare out of the windshield. Far away, the headlights of an approaching car knife through the darkness. Icy fingers grip your hammering heart. They're coming at you, now. Fast.
Carl, that car!
You try to move. You're paralyzed. The dream! It's so much like the dream. You try to scream, but nothing comes out. Carl gasps, then shouts.
Look out, Al! We're gonna get hit!
There's a squeal of brakes, and the impact of tearing metal and shattering glass. You feel yourself thrown forward. A blinding light. A shooting pain. Then the darkness closes in, and you're floating in a sea of velvet black. You open your eyes. You can see the stars above you, twinkling. A leaf floats from the tree overhead to earth. You are lying at the side of the road. You lift your head and gaze down toward your feet. The dream. So much like the dream. You struggle to your feet. The road is bare. There is no sign of the wreck. From far off, the sound of a motor tells you of an approaching car. You step out onto the road. The smell, the sickening smell of rotted flesh, burns your nostrils. So much like the dream. Only now you know what the stench is. The car stops. You move toward it.
Crazy fool! Do you want to get yourself killed?
The dream is real. You know what's about to happen. He sees your face. You steel yourself for his reaction. It comes. A haunting, terrified scream. Ah! You're dead. You know it. Now. Dead. And this time, it isn't a dream. The end. Well, kitties, that's it. Like it? Like being a corpse? Well, you might as well get used to it. It's bound to happen, eventually. Oh, come. Why the grave look? You got time. Maybe you'll know it's coming by having a dream like poor Al in this story. If you do, you'll have something to look forward to. In the meantime, you can look forward to some more chilling tales in this book. Compose yourself. Ready? Okay, then. I'll turn you over to the old witch. The witch's cauldron. Yes, it's me again, the old witch, mistress of the haunt of fear. I've been waiting for you. See? The fire under my cauldron is leaping higher and higher. My evil brew is steaming and bubbling. So come in and gaze into the swirling, boiling contents of my cauldron. Gaze deep, and soon you'll see a gripping, terrifying tale unfold. A tale I call Last Respects. The rusty hinges squealed a horrified protest as she pushed the cemetery gate open. Overhead, a cold moon cast green shadows on the mound before the grey headstones.
I'm coming, Anna. I'm coming.
He stood for a moment, hesitating before the yawning, opening in the iron fence, then moved through.
Where are you, Anna? Which way?
Up the grass-carpeted path, past the graves of those long dead. The man, Anthony Colton, stumbled. In his hands he clutched a paper bag. Every so often he stopped and looked about, searching.
Help me, Anna. I don't know my way. Guide me, Anna. Guide me to your grave.
Suddenly he saw it standing cold and still in the white moonlight. The mausoleum. It rose above the gravestones like a skyscraper rises above the sprawling tenements of a great city. Majestic, imposing, contemptuous.
That mausoleum. Perhaps.
Anna had come from a rich family. Anthony edged closer. Then he saw it. The letters cut deep and dark in the gleaming marble over the doorway.
Cooper! This must be it! This must be it!
Anthony breathed a silent prayer as he approached the huge metal door. Suppose it should be locked. He closed his eyes and leaned against it.
Open! Oh, thank God it's open!
The door swung silently. The hinges had been well oiled to prevent squeaks from intruding upon the solemnity of the recent funeral. Anthony stepped in. The casket stood in the center of the floor, silent, still. Anthony gasped, then threw himself prostrate upon it, and wept, quietly, pitifully. After a while, the hoarse sobbing stopped. He stood up and opened the paper bag. The sharp crackle of the paper echoed from the windowless walls in an abnormal volume.
I brought it, Anna. I brought it for you to sleep with. Forever.
It was one of those furry little animals that they give away at amusement parks when you knock over the stack of bruised wooden bottles. Anthony brushed it against his face for a moment, then laid it reverently upon the coffin lid.
Here it is, Anna. Here.
Anthony shook his head. Then he tried the lid. It was sealed closed. He sighed.
It's no good this way, Anna. You can't feel it out here.
Anthony gazed down at the casket with the furry mound lying on the lid. He stared into the black wood of the studded box. From far away the music drifted to him. Happy music, laughter, a merry-go-round, going round and round and round. "Tony, let's ride it."
Sure, Anna. Sure, come on.
Those stolen hours of happiness. That day at the amusement park, when he won Anna that furry little thing. "Oh, Tony! Tony, you did it! You did it!"
For you, Anna. Just for you.
"There you are, Day-Eye. Here's your prize." Then the music faded away, and the sound of the car motor replaced it. The hum of the 12 cylinders.
Don't you think you'd better get in back, Anna? We're getting close to the house.
Oh, Tony, darling. Why does it have to end? Why?
Then the motor stopped. Anna got out of the front seat of the impressive limousine, and Tony opened the rear door for her. Then he put on the brass-buttoned chauffeur's coat and the patent leather peak cap.
When can we do this again, Tony? When?
The car is always at your disposal, Miss Anna.
Oh, Tony, don't joke with me. Kiss me, my darling. Tell your wife you love her.
I love you, Anna.
He stood there, staring at the casket. Outside, a clap of thunder exploded. The mausoleum door slammed with the sudden gust of hot wind. The rain began falling.
It's raining, Anna. Raining like that night. The night you came to my room above the garage. Anna, what are you doing here?
I can't stand it any longer, Tony. We've got to tell my uncle.
Don't be foolish, Anna. You know what would happen. He'd disown you. Cut you off without a cent.
I don't care. I don't care.
You're forgetting one thing, Anna. You're underage. Okay, that's creepy. He can annul the marriage.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't.
Yes, it rained that night. But Anna and Tony didn't care. They were together. Stolen moments of happiness.
You've got to go, Anna. Your uncle will be looking for you.
Just one more kiss, my darling.
One more kiss, and then she left. She hurried across the soaping grounds, her flimsy dress clinging to her skin, rain-soaked. And when she opened the door...
Where were you? Where were you?
I took a walk, Uncle. I got caught in the rain.
He stood before Anna, there in that drafty mansion. He accused her, insulted her.
Don't lie to me. It's been raining for hours. I saw you come across the lawn. You've been to the garage. To him. I know. I've seen the way he looks at you. Don't think I'm blind. Don't think I don't know you've been carrying on.
Uncle, stop it, stop it. I can't stand your evil insinuations. If you must know, we're married.
What? Married to that?
I don't care what you say. I love him. That's all that matters.
Silly fool. I'll have the marriage annulled. I won't let you throw your life away.
She was in bed the next day. Pneumonia. Anthony came to see her.
Go away! You're not wanted here.
But I'm her husband, Mr. Cooper.
You won't be for long. I've started annulment proceedings. She's underage.
Please, let me see her. I love her. Don't you understand?
He turned Tony away. The doctor came, and Tony stopped him as he was leaving.
How is she, Doctor? She's failing, Tony. Doesn't seem to want to live.
While inside, Tony, I want Tony.
No, no, you're finished with him. Finished!
And so she died. Up to the end, her uncle had refused to let Tony see her. The funeral had been held that afternoon. Tony had not been allowed to attend. But now he was here.
Yes, Anna, I'm here, and everything is all right. Now, I've just killed him. I've just killed your uncle.
From somewhere a stream of water ran down the stone wall of the mausoleum, down the wall onto the cold floor, and under the casket.
The rain coming in.
Tony turned to go. It was over, finished. Now he was going away. The old man was dead, and his death had been revenged.
Goodbye, Anna. Someday I'll come back. Someday.
He tugged at the huge mausoleum door. It did not move. It was
locked! Good Lord! How'll I get out of here?
Tony pulled and wrenched at the door. It was no use. Someone would have to come and open it from the other side.
Help me! Help me, somebody! Please, let me out!
A clap of thunder was his only reply. Tony hammered at the metal door until his fists were raw and blood oozed from them.
I'll starve to death. Please, God, someone.
The rain fell incessantly. It formed little rivers that ran off between the headstones. Inside the mausoleum, a steady sobbing echoed the falling of the raindrops. The night passed and the day dawned, and that day passed, and no one came to that part of the cemetery, so no one heard the knocking, the calling from the mausoleum. A week went by, and every day the knocking, the hammering continued, but no one heard, except a frightened tramp one evening at twilight, who ran off, terrified. The week stretched to 2 weeks. The pounding was becoming fainter now, but Tony was still alive. Then, almost a month later, the beating and the calling stopped. The day followed Tony's death, after having been locked in the mausoleum for almost a month. They found him. The engraver was delivering the plaque from Anna's coffin, and when they swung open the massive metal door...
Good Lord! Look! A dead man!
It's that chauffeur of theirs, the one they've been looking for.
He's only been dead a day or so. What's this? Around him?
Bones! Hey, this coffin's been pried open.
This guy must have been trapped in here. He stayed alive by catching water in this urn.
And eating.
Oh, God, no.
They took Tony away. They put the white picked clean bones back into the coffin and sealed it up again. Then they closed the mausoleum.
I don't understand. If he had water and, food, how come he died?
The formaldehyde, embalming fluid. It poisoned him.
And that's my story, dear readers. Tony, Anna, the cool old uncle. They're all dead now. Each one killed the other. You might say. Anyway, it was a meaty little tale, wasn't it? I hope you didn't, choke up at the sad ending. Well, if your stomach stopped doing flip-flops, I'll turn you over to the Crypt Keeper. He has another tale for you to chew on. Bye now. See you later on with another pot of putrescence.
One is either a believer or an unbeliever. There is no happy medium, as Alan Bitsby discovers the night he attends his first seance.
Faker.
My story begins at the home of Walton Farnham, accountant for the firm of Bitsby and Company. At this particular moment, Walton is hard at work entertaining Mr. and Mrs. Alan Bitsby, the boss and his wife. Let's see what's going on.
I have to apologize for my wife, A.B. She's never this late.
Quite all right, Walton. Quite all right. Mr. Bitsby, I find that I am forced to ask you for a raise in salary. There have been extra expenses lately, and, Let's not talk business tonight, Walton. See me in the morning. I'll see what I can do for you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Bitsby. Thank you. Quite all right, Walton. Quite.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Bitsby, I'm so sorry I'm late, but the seance took so long today.
Seance? What seance? This what you mean by extra expenses, Walton? Sending your wife to seances? She wants to go, Mr. Bitsby. And if it makes her happy... Happy? Idiotic nonsense. These mediums are fake. Thieves and fakes. They pry on lonesome old people. Take advantage of their losses. Whom does he produce for you, Mrs. Walton? Your mother?
No, my poor departed brother Maxim, and today I heard his voice.
Tell us what happened, Agnes.
Yes, I'm so interested. Aren't you, Alan?
Never mind, Martha. This chicanery is not for you. You're a rich man's wife. A medium would milk you dry.
Well, Agnes Farnham began. I arrived at the medium's house about 3:10. The seance was scheduled to begin at 3:15. The others were there ahead of me. My name is Mrs. Dober. Dr. Podos communicates with my son, who died in the war. Paul says he's happy now. I'm so glad. I've come to hear my brother Maxim. Last week he knocked, but did not speak.
Yes, I remember. It was too bad. The doctor worked so hard. But did you hear my wife Sarah? How near she was?
Yes, Mr. Hatch. Her voice was strong. The doctor says he's going to try to make my son materialize today. Suddenly he was in the room. No one saw him come in. His deep, dark, piercing eyes looked from one of us to the other.
"Ah, I'm so glad you've come again, Mrs. Farnham. Perhaps today your brother Maxim will speak to us."
"I hope so, Doctor." We sat around the table. Dr. Podos turned out the lights. Then,
"Now, all join hands. The séance is about to begin."
Mr. Hatch was on my left. Mrs. Dober was on my right. The doctor was directly across from me, and I could see his face in the glow of the candle.
"Everyone, quiet. Concentrate. I'm about to go into my trance."
I watched his face. He stared into the candle, muttering intelligible words. Perspiration broke out on his forehead. He writhed as if he were in pain. Then, "Harvey?"
Sarah? Is that you?
It was Mr. Hatch's wife. Her voice was sad, almost a wail. "Yes, Harvey, it is I. Why do you keep sending for me, Harvey?"
I need you, Sarah. Need you so."
The medium twisted in what seemed like agony. We watched Mr. Hatch's face. He stared wide-eyed into the darkness. "You must forget me, Harvey. My life is finished. Yours is not. You must accept life without me. I'm going now."
No, Sarah! No! Come back!
She was gone. The doctor was still in his stupor. Then it came. That sharp, clear rapping.
"It is your brother, Mrs. Farnham."
"Maxim! Is that you? Speak to me! Maxim! Please!" I listened. I strained my ears, but heard nothing. Then a voice, far away.
Agnes, can you hear me?
"Oh, yes, Maxim. I can hear you."
I can't stay long, Agnes. It's so hard. Maybe next time.
"Maxim, wait! There's so much I want to ask you." "She's gone, Mrs. Farnham. Dr. Podos couldn't hold him. At least I heard his voice today."
Mother?
Mrs. Dober's face lit up. It was her son, Paul, the one that died in the war. "Paul, is that you? I'm here, Paul."
I told you last time, Mother. I'm happy now. Why did you come back?"
"I want to see you, Paul. The doctor said he'd try. Please, doctor, let me see him."
No, Mother. No, don't.
Slowly, a mist rose in the darkness. It began to take shape. It was a man, in uniform. A soldier. "Paul, I'm beginning to see you."
Don't look, Mother. Don't.
I screamed. I couldn't help it. I saw him clearly. His face was half shot away. It was awful. Awful. "Paul, my Paul, you're hurt."
I told you not to try to see me, Mother. I told you.
Then he was gone, and the séance was over. Ugh, it gives me the creeps. Doesn't it you, Alan?
Fake. Nothing but a fake. That's what he is. You'll get no raise from me, Farnham, if you insist upon letting your wife spend good money on that trash.
But she heard his voice, Mr. Bitsby. Maxim's voice.
If I prove he's a fake, Farnham, Will you forbid your wife seeing him again?
How can you expose him, Mr. Bitsby?
Simple. Martha, my wife, will stay here. We three will go to your medium. I'll ask to speak to my dear departed wife, Martha. When he produces her spirit, you'll know he was a faker.
That sounds fair enough to me.
A clever plot, eh, dear reader? Mrs. Farnham calls Dr. Podos and makes the appointment. The three of them, Bitsby and the Farnhams, leave for the medium's house, while Mrs. Bitsby stays behind. They arrive and are ushered into the seance room. Then the medium enters.
Ah, so these are the people you brought, Mrs. Farnham.
Yes, my husband, and Mr. Bitsby, our friend. He's a widower. He'd like to communicate with his dear departed wife, Martha.
Won't you all sit down?
The lights are lowered, and the seance begins. They all join hands. The doctor goes into his hypnotic trance. He twists and sways.
Seems to be having a bit of trouble.
Hey, Walton?
Yes?
Shh.
The medium writhes now. He seems to be in terrific pain. His face is bathed in sweat. The veins on his forehead stand out.
Can't seem to be able to rouse spirit.
It's a good act, eh, Walton?
Yes,
Wait, listen. Alan, dear, you call me?
Mrs. Bitsby?
Martha?
Suddenly, Alan Bitsby jumps up, red-faced in anger.
See? What'd I tell you? A fake! A fake!
I don't understand.
They leave. They go home to Walton Farnham's house, convinced. Bitsby is triumphant. As Walton opens the door, Bitsby chides him.
See? They're all fakes. All of them. Convinced now, Walton?
yes, I'm afraid
They rush into the house. Martha Bitsby lies grotesquely on the floor.
Dead! Martha's dead!
Then he wasn't a fake. Oh, what have we done? What have we done?
The end. Precautions. After a month of incessant search through the mountains, above the tiny Carpathian village where he was constable, the cheetah finally succeeded in trapping the swarthy little man who had terrorized the countryside for so long. Perhaps there was a note of irony in the fact that after so many hours of grueling manhunt, it should take enormous Vegeta less than 5 minutes to subdue the insane killer he had pursued. But if there was an ironic note, it was certainly lost on the police officer as he glared down at the trussed-up madman, groaning on the floor of his cave amidst the bones and decayed flesh of his victims. Gruff as he was, Vajda's stomach almost turned at the thought of how this little fiend must have stalked and killed his victims, then gulped down their warm blood like wine. Vajda quickly pushed the revolting thought from his mind. He had to concentrate now on the long trek down the mountainside to the village below. He should be thinking of nothing but turning this devil over to the elders. For if he let this wily little man with the fiercely glittering eyes slip through his fingers, the panic-stricken townspeople might very well kill him. Vajta sighed. He had to take the most painstaking precautions. The elders of the village look on imperturbably as Vajta set fire to the tinder around the stake to which the struggling vampire was tied. In an instant, the flames leaped up, and the man's piercing screams were like the wail of an animal dying in agony. The elders watched without a flicker of emotion. At long last they and their families could walk the streets again, without fear stalking them. That alone made it a good thing they had ordered Vajta to do. Everyone knew it was man's duty to destroy these monstrous vampires, wherever they were found. Only Vajta himself had misgivings. Tradition was deeply ingrained in his peasant mind, and he regretted the elders' anxiety to finish the job without taking all the precautions with which vampires were supposed to be executed. Vajta had pleaded unsuccessfully for the right to execute the man, as his forefathers would have done, first cutting the fiend's head off, then letting fire consume his body, and finally driving a stake through the heart to pin the corpse forever to the grave into which it would be dumped. That was the way to kill a vampire. Those were the precautions to take, so that the monster could not rise from death. But the elders were anxious to finish the job, and Vajta had been ordered against his better judgment to take only the second step. And so Vajta hurled the seared body into the grave with considerable uneasiness, and prepared to stand guard over it all that night. It wasn't until well after dawn that the elders found Vajta's body beside the freshly dug grave. They stared in bewilderment. The teeth marks on Vajta's throat were unmistakable, as was the fact that his body was deathly white and drained of all blood. The bravest of the elders peered into the grave, and saw there the dead vampire laying in the midst of a pool of bright red fluid. The elders huddled in terror, their voices hushed by the dread they felt. Could Vajta have been right about vampires rising from the grave, and the precautions they should have taken?
So the artist for this story is Johnny Craig.
The Vault of Horror. It's so nice to see your eager faces leering at me again in expectation. Well, you won't be disappointed, I assure you. From my private collection of hair razors, I've selected this story for your enjoyment. I call it Voodoo Death. Ever read travel folders? You know, those pamphlets that tell about all the glorious wonders and beauties of the West Indies. Palm trees, moonlight on the ocean, etc., etc. Strange, isn't it? They never mention other interesting sights. Sights that tourists are not to see. Sights like a voodoo ritual.
Hurry up, Jay. We're almost there.
Confound it, Bill. I don't like this one bit. Almost wish we'd never come to Haiti.
Haiti, island of beauty, serenity. Haiti, island of legends, mystery. Jay, there, look. We're just in time.
For Pete's sake, Bill, shut up, or they'll hear us. Bill, let's get out of here. If those natives catch us watching their ritual, they'll...
I know. Keep quiet, will you?
What are they doing?
A native was shot to death in town today. They're working over him now. As they watch the dancer's frenzy, the high priestess places a doll beside the still form of the corpse. The voodoo drums beat louder, and the high priestess bends over the body. The natives close in around her, blocking her from view.
What's she doing?
I don't know. I can't see her. Minutes later, the chanting, screaming natives withdraw, leaving the priestess standing over the body and the doll. Now there is an expectant silence. And then the dead native stirs, his eyes open, glassy and empty, and he rises. The doll stands upright, and then darts away into the jungle.
Bill! The doll! The dead man! He's alive!
Shut up, you fool! They'll hear you!
It's too late! They've seen us!
Run!
Bill! They caught me! Help, Bill! Come back! Don't leave me!
Yeah. Bill races madly back to the hotel and anxiously paces the floor in terror. As dawn breaks and Jay fails to appear, he begins frantically to pack his valise. Suddenly, the door opens. Jay! Thank heaven you're okay. I was worried sick over you. But you're all right. You escaped.
Voodoo doll. Zombie.
You're exhausted, but a good night's rest will fix you up. You lie down. As soon as I finish packing our things, we're leaving this island. We're going home. The two friends leave for New York on the next boat. 2 days of complete rest have apparently settled Jay's nerves, and the frightful ordeal in Haiti is almost forgotten by them both. But one night, when Bill enters his stateroom... Huh? What's that in my bunk? A voodoo doll. The natives sent a doll after me. It's starting to move. Got to get rid of it. The porthole. Jay! Come here, quick!
Bill, what's the matter?
Jay, a voodoo doll. On my bunk. It moved.
Voodoo doll? Bill, are you certain?
Yes. I threw it out the porthole. The natives sent it after me. It had a long needle in its hands.
You must have been seeing things, Bill. Your eyes are playing tricks.
You think so? Maybe you're right. It certainly is fantastic enough. Bill is completely unnerved, but by the time they reach New York, he is certain the wicked voodoo doll has been destroyed. One night there is a knock on the door of the apartment he shares with Jay. Yes? Why, that's odd. No one here. Just a package. Strange. No return address. No postage. Wonder what's in it.
Curious, Bill hastily rips the package open, and then his hands tremble. His mouth drops wide as he stares at the contents.
The voodoo doll!
Frightened terribly, Bill dashes from the room. Then he stops.
I threw it in the fire. The flames will destroy it. But maybe it came back when I threw it out the porthole. It can move. It might get away. I better get back. Better make sure. There's the box. The package. But where's the doll? It's gone! Gone. Somewhere in this room. Hiding. Waiting to pounce on me. Waiting to stab me with that needle. Help! Help!
Bill, what the devil are you screaming about?
Jay, thank heaven you come. The doll's back. It wants to kill me. Why don't they leave me alone? Why do they want to kill me? I'll tell you why, Bill. It's because you witnessed a sacred voodoo ritual. For that, you must die. How can you be so calm when... I have nothing to worry about, Bill. I'm already dead. What? You dead? Yes. And soon you'll die. Look above you, Bill. The doll! Stop! Take it off me! That needle! Ow! It jabbed me. It jabbed me and then went limp. It didn't kill me. Hey. My neck getting numb. Hurts. Yes, the needle was poisoned. Soon your whole body will hurt. Then you'll be dead. As I am dead. Yes, I'm dead. The natives killed me that night. They killed me and brought me back to life, like they did to that dead native. They sent me to you with that voodoo doll to punish you. The doll has done its job. And when you die, I will cease to exist also. I'm a zombie. You're dead, and I'll be dead in a moment. This doll, it killed me. This wicked, vicious doll, voodoo doll. I'll destroy it, rip it to shreds, tear it. What's this?
Bill's rage suddenly ceases. A scream strangles in his throat as he stares down at what his hand holds.
Good Lord, it's a heart! A human heart! Yes, Bill. That's how they gave it life. They gave the doll a heart. My heart!
The end. Such joy. Now wasn't that heartrending? Of course, Jay could have told Bill what had happened, but I guess he just didn't have the heart. Well, Bill got to the point. In the cutting climax to this throbbing tale, I hope I'll be seeing you in my own magazine, The Vault of Horror. Until then, fiends, be of stout heart.
Okay, so that's the end of that comic. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.